Hi, this is Josie Lewis, and welcome. Today I'm going to walk you through how I make one of my deep resin collages. I've been using resin for about 10 years and tried a lot of different things. Luckily, there are some really amazing resources out there, including a product called Art Resin, which is by far the most superior resin on the market, and they have amazing resources, so you can check them out at artresin.com or their YouTube channel, Art Resin. They have just tons of great information and they're good looking. So please check them out. Here we go. I start off with a board that's made out of MDF, half-inch MDF, with a wooden cradle behind it. This one is painted. As you can see, I just put some acrylic paint down. First I prime it and then I put acrylic paint down. And I'm cutting my mold, which is made out of aluminum tape, which you can buy in your hardware store in the ducting department. It is not duct tape, it's aluminum tape. It is very, very sticky and flexible, as you can see. You can also cut it with the table saw. It holds up. It's amazing. I love this product. So I create basically a dam around the outside of my piece before I begin, because I want to do multiple pours of resin and I want to hold in the resin. Okay, so now we have me actually putting the paper down. I use fashion magazines. I like Vogue and National Geographic because the paper quality is really good. I'm tacking them down with a little Elmer's glue. The wine is optional. So I find that it helps. Okay, we're about to jump to after the first pour. I'm going to show you a resin pour in a minute here, but I skipped it in this case. So you can't really see that there's already a layer of resin on there, but there is. And so I'm adding the paper to that first layer. And like I said, I'll end up doing this about 5 or 6 times until it's the right thickness and I like the way it's looking. So now we're ready to pour the resin. As you can see, I got some of my supplies here. Everything's lined with plastic because that will protect any surfaces. Gloves are a must. The resin itself is really sticky and kind of caustic. There's my art resin. Love that stuff. The resin and the hardener, it's a 1-to-1 process, so you just mix equal parts. Got a cheap spatula there, very cheap dollar store bowl. I like to use cheap stuff with resin because I end up, it gets all gunked up and then I throw it out and I can start new. So the resin you want to, I do not use like a measuring device, which I would recommend that in this case you do as I say and not as I do, because if you get the ratios wrong, I mean it's simple, it's just 1-to-1, but if you get the ratios wrong because you're eyeballing it and it doesn't work out quite right, your resin might not cure. I eyeball it, so deal with it. If you want to play it fast and loose, go ahead and eyeball it, but I would recommend not. And then there's the stirring. Stirring is super, super important. I stir pretty slow and I count to 200. A lot of times I lose my place and then I have to start over, but I always think that stirring more is better than not stirring enough. This video is sped up, but I actually do stir very slowly because I think if I stir it too fast, then micro bubbles kind of get incorporated into the mix. I'm also scraping the sides, which is why the spatula is pretty handy. In case you're wondering how much resin to use, I once again eyeball it just because I kind of know how much I'm going to need, but it's sort of tricky. So if you're needing an aid to help you there, you can go to artresin.com. They have a little calculator. You punch in the dimensions of your piece and then they let you know how much resin you're going to need. Next up is the torch to get the bubbles out. You want to keep pretty steady, fast movement here because you don't want to scorch your resin. We're going right from the open flame to power tools. This is our table saw. My husband is my studio tech, and he is an expert, and he's super safe. He is not using proper technique here. If you decide to use your table saw, just, have someone around that knows what they're doing, because I don't want anyone to get hurt. What we're doing is we're just cutting off about an eighth or a 16th of an inch, because I love that hard, clean edge. Then we go right into a little bit of sanding. That edge is sharp, so I like to bevel it down slightly. Then I paint the exposed edge of the MDF with black acrylic paint. You could use any color, but I use black in this case. The final step is to take a little bit of water-based polyurethane polyacrylic and coat the whole outside edge to create a nice satin finish to that cut frosted resin. One feature that you might find interesting is that the people who commissioned this piece asked me to include little pictures of their family. So if you look closely, you can see pictures of a mom and dad and a couple of real cute kids and even a little puppy and a wedding shot. It's kind of a fun thing that I can do with these resin collages. There we have it. There's me holding the resin piece ready to get shipped off. As you can see, I'm pretty happy about it. Thanks for watching, guys.